As if Donald Trump's 312 Electoral College vote romp over Kamala Harris wasn't impressive enough, it turns out that he was actually on track to win over 400 electoral votes. This is according to the guys over at Pod Save America, and in case you're not familiar with them, they are former Obama staffers. They're very well sourced, very well connected within Washington, D.C., especially within the Democrat Party, and here's what they had to say.
Joe Biden's decision to run for president again was a catastrophic mistake. It just was. And he and his inner circle, they refused to believe the polls. They refused to believe he was unpopular. They refused to acknowledge until very late that anyone could be upset about inflation. And they just kept telling us that his presidency was historic and it was the greatest economy ever. We just heard him again say that it's the greatest economy ever. Clearly, 70, 80% of voters don't believe that. They don't believe that about their own personal financial situation, but they just keep telling us that. And then after the debate, the Biden people told us that the polls were fine. And Biden was still the strongest candidate. They were privately telling reporters at the time that Kamala Harris couldn't win. So they were shivving Kamala Harris to reporters while they told everyone else, not a time for an open process, and his vice president can't win, so he's the strongest candidate. Then we find out, when the Biden campaign becomes the Harris campaign, that the Biden campaign's own internal polling at the time when they were telling us he was the strongest candidate showed that Donald Trump was going to win 400 electoral votes. That's what their own internal polling said.
There were polls showing 80% of voters thought Joe Biden was too old to get a second term before the debate. And then we all watched the debate. And then in the last few weeks, Biden was campaigning and he said, we need to lock Trump up. He created a controversy over whether Trump supporters were garbage. He said, the weird thing about slapping Trump on the ass. Like his moments on the campaign trail weren't flawless either.
You cannot.
It's absurd. It's
absurd. Trying to be generous here.
I'm done being generous.
I want to stay for the record. I also think all the TV money ads should be
should be rethought too.
More importantly, the idea that Joe Biden was going to do better in this race than Kamala Harris is on its face absurd.
I mean, 400 electoral votes, can you even imagine? So when people look back and analyze and dissect where this campaign went wrong for Kamala Harris, there are going to be a lot of moments, but I think one of the key moments is going to be when she chose radical Tim Walz to be her running mate over the more acceptable, generally palatable Josh Shapiro. And in fact, in the closing weeks of the campaign, Harris herself seemed to have buyer's remorse. She was bringing Josh Shapiro onto the campaign trail. In fact, Politico ran this headline, Harris's secret weapon to unlock the Rust Belt. She brought Josh Shapiro all over the campaign trail. Well, why didn't you choose him as your running mate? Not complaining. I'm glad that didn't happen. But Kamala Harris was trying to have it both ways. She was trying to appease the Arab and Muslim population while also trying not to alienate Jewish voters. And it turned out that she actually alienated both sides. That's what you get for being lukewarm. And according to the Jerusalem Post, their editors and their editorial board believe that Kamala's biggest mistake was ignoring Josh Shapiro, and that cost her the White House. Now, what is most interesting about this, for those of you who have been watching the channel since the summer, you know that the Harris campaign seemed to be prepared and geared for a Harris-Shapiro candidacy. And in fact, someone on the campaign accidentally leaked this ad that they had already prepared.
Kamala Harris for president and Josh Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro
for vice president. Now we need you. Let us and Kamala Harris know you stand with her. Together, we can do this. We are one city,
one region,
one Commonwealth for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, didn't turn out so well for her, did it? So I think there's actually two different possibilities here. So let me know your theory down below. I think possibility number one is the generally accepted narrative that Kamala Harris chose Tim Walz over Josh Shapiro. But there's this article from Politico that actually has a really interesting point. Now, in this article, it states, following Harris's interview with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, there was a sense among Shapiro's team that the meeting did not go as well as it could have, sources familiar with the matter tell ABC News. Later Sunday, after the interview, Shapiro placed a phone call to Harris's team, indicating he had reservations about leaving his job as governor, sources said. So to me, that sounds like, I think a lot of people thought, well, Shapiro was unsure about how the meeting went, similar to how you would be unsure about a job interview. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm not sure how I did. Maybe it went well. But that second paragraph seems to indicate that it didn't go well for Shapiro, that maybe he was unimpressed with Kamala Harris, and maybe he saw that she was a uniquely unqualified candidate, and he said, maybe I don't want to tie my political career to her, so I'm going to stay in Pennsylvania. I'm going to stay as governor. So I think those are the two options. Number one, either Kamala Harris ignored Shapiro, went with Tim Walz, or she was forced to do that because Shapiro actually turned her down. Let me know what you think happened down in the comments below. Now, today is Veterans Day, so I want to say Happy Veterans Day. And if you are a veteran, please let me know in the comments below, and I will, as I see your comments come in, be sure to give it a heart and a like and a comment. I do work on Mondays, so it may take me a while to get to your comment, but I would like to personally thank you for your service. So if you are a veteran, please let me know down below, and I would love to thank you. And for everyone else watching, please thank them as well, because our military right now is all volunteer. And I know we've had the draft in the past, but regardless of how people have served, it's just an honor to do that. And you deserve our thanks and gratitude. So thank you, and happy Veterans Day to all of you. Speaking of veterans, I think there's this... It's a sad story, but it's also hopeful. It's sad about what happened, but I'm hopeful for the future thanks to President Trump. So there's this man named Frank Tamaro, 95-year-old veteran. He was actually kicked out of his nursing home because he lives in a sanctuary city, and they kicked him out, and they ended up housing illegal immigrants there that came in through the border, were flown there on the taxpayer dime, and he was kicked out, and he actually spoke on this.
It was very disgraceful what they did to the people in Island Shores. They gave us time to get out, but they never said when, and they never said they were going to get us out. And then one day, there's a thing on the board, a notice on the board, you gotta be out by March 15th. I think that gave us like a month and a half to find out where we're going to go. I thought my suitcases were going to be on the curb because I'm not that fast. If it wasn't for my daughter, they would have been on the curb. But that's what it happened, and that was it. I said, no, you're not moving me. And they said, yes, we are. And everything was done behind closed doors. Yeah. And we didn't have a chance to actually make any attempt to stop them because there wasn't enough time.
That's just really sad, but the silver lining is that with President Trump being inaugurated soon, I'm hopeful that situations like that won't happen again. I'm hoping that any wrongs like that happened will be rectified, and that we will prioritize our own citizens before helping anyone else out. It's not that we hate the rest of the world, but hey, the purpose of our government is to serve and help protect our citizens first. That is its priority. That's why it exists. So let's make sure our federal government actually does that. And, you know, Trump is staffing his next administration, already working on the transition team. And so many things have come out. And one of the things that I saw that I'm excited about is Trump is talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, which I think, you know, it'll return it to the states. And I think it'll actually help strengthen our education system with, you know, just letting the local government, letting state governments, and letting parents have a voice and help be in charge of shaping that for our children, instead of letting bureaucrats far away in DC, you know, try to standardize everything and just almost sterilize everything. Here's what Trump had to say about that.
And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states. Thank you very much.
The Department of Education hasn't even been around that long. I believe, just off the top of my head, I think it's only like 49 years old. And if you actually think about it, our national education, national testing scores have gotten worse over the last few decades. So, there's not always a relationship. The correlation does not necessarily mean causation, but I think the signs are definitely there, and something definitely needs to be done, and I am all for that, very excited for it. Now, as always, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. What do you think about that insight from Pod Save America that Trump was actually on track to win 400 electoral votes? Are you just like blown away by that? Do you think that that's what should have happened in the first place? Or if you have any thoughts on any of the stories, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. So be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.